Anyway, yeah, Brian, tell me first, there's some really good news regarding Ribadoro. We know how crucial he's been in the past to the Bulls. How glad are you to get him back in on loan?
Yeah, really glad. I think it's one of those things that we've got an association with ex-players. And there was always kind of unwritten commitment that if at all possible they could come back and help, or think they can help, or want to play some extra football from where they weren't playing football, that there might be an option there. And yeah, so he's coming back and we're hoping he's going to make a difference.
Yeah, it's been a comeback to help make a difference. Eben Skur's another one who can do that. I know that Eben, along with Bailey and Emmanuel, played in the reserves game with Leeds. Just how important an exercise was that for you to see those guys get some minutes in that game?
It's one of the issues for us. I thought it was really important because it's a little bit like, and I don't like to use too many military examples, but you've got to go find out what live fire is all about, haven't you? And as much training as you do, and as much hitting a shield you do, and as much getting up and down off the ground, there's nothing like playing a game and getting the tempo of a game and getting understanding that your lungs will be heaving in certain parts of the game at whatever level when you play it. So I thought it was a really, really useful exercise.
Brilliant stuff. And we know about the long-term injury to Tyrannot, George, for Tom Holmes. We saw one of the sort of only disappointing things in what was otherwise a great second half was obviously Gilly got injured late on. How is Gilly and how is his knee more specifically?
I think it's a sign of it's a lot better than we thought. I think he'll be pushing maybe for next week even against Oldham. It's not as serious, perhaps, is a better expression as to how we thought it was. So he's we're hopeful. We're hopeful he'll be up and running pretty soon.
And obviously, what we saw in that second half was some really free-flowing stuff from Bulls. We saw a lot against Featherstone as well. Do you feel like you seemed more yourselves from him, pleased in general how you played against Fev and Sheffield after a bit of a difficult patch?
Well, I think it's important we registered and did some things that helped our psychology, our playing psychology, and I think we did that. But with this group, there's still our mantra is there's lots of things to improve. We're really disappointed about the couple of 20s that we've conceded over the last couple of weeks. So, but it's hard to put it all together. You don't get much time with these blokes. You get one go, and so the emphasis. We know we'll score points if we're on and we do certain things, but we get to put it all together in a fantastic fixture this Friday.
Yeah, moving on to this fixture, Brian. Obviously, it's a great one, and it always is this Good Friday derby with Halifax. Obviously, got quite an experienced squad this year. Do you think that can help it in a derby? There's obviously it can be a bit of a caution at times, especially away from home. But you've got lads that I'm sure you'll feel that can deal with that and then some.
Well, we've been a couple of years, and when we've had decent teams, I think we were going to do the same. I think we have to recognise that it's a tough challenge because they love playing at home, and it'll be. I'm led to believe it's going to be an absolutely cracking atmosphere, proper Good Friday game. We're playing the top of the league. They haven't been beaten in the league, and I've watched them a few times, and they're a really, really competent outfit. So, as much as it's always been about us and what we do, I think we have to take account of what Halifax have been able to do. And so it's going to be one of those situations where I think both teams would like the best of their players and the best, looking after the ball is important. How you kick the ball is important. How you do the little things and how you fight for the scraps. It's often the difference in these games, and I think they'll be very, very ready, but I'm sure we will be.
Absolutely, and obviously for you guys, you focus on your patterns, your structures and everything, doing everything you do right, but what do you look at as an assistant coach when you see, I know they've got the likes of Jack Hansen and Rowan Dixon, key players missing this weekend, they've only got an 18-man squad. How does that impact your preparations at all? Does that right, we can target these positions, or are you still very much, we just need to do what we do? Or is it something you do really, really look into?
Well, whilst we take account of what the opposition do, and the reason why myself and Greeny have watched 4 games is they're a very good team. They've started the season with a small squad. So when they lose one, it looks like they've lost another one, but they've been pretty competent of keeping it together. And they've had less injuries than probably all the other teams, ourselves included. But we have to do what we do. I understand if we let them do what they do, we'll be in for a tough afternoon. That's the vagaries of rugby league. there are lots of smoke screens and daggers and in all of these big games of people saying something's going to happen and somebody's going to be there and somebody's not. The truth of the matter is there's a few things that you have to do in rugby league to win games, and we'll be looking to do those things.
And on your side of things, obviously other than what we've mentioned, so Ty, George, Tom and Gilly for this week, is there anyone else that might be struggling, or are you pretty much clean other than those four we've mentioned?
It's a good question. I think Logan had the flu, so he's probably going to be out. He was supposed to be featuring for Batley again this week, but I'm not sure if he will or he won't. That's to be decided. I think we're pretty healthy other than that. Great
stuff. And just a final one for me, obviously, I know it's not something we're focused on just yet, but obviously we finally, after a week of waiting, got the draw for the 18-95 semis with York. Is that an exciting thing? While you'll be clearly focused on the league for now, is that an exciting thing? For now it sort of feels more real. It'll be a tough game, but that's an exciting thing regardless, being in the semi-final. And two great teams.
Yeah, it's one for the future. I think it's 4 or 5 games away, even maybe more. And they're playing really, really well at the moment at York. So, but what I do know about semi-finals is whoever you get, you've got to be on top of your game a little bit this weekend. If we want a result, we'll have to be on top of our game. And the same will be true when we go to York. Fantastic stadium. I'm sure it'll be a fantastic atmosphere. But again, it's just 6 weeks down the track.
Cheers, Brian.
Brian, how did you and the team utilise that bye weekend ahead of 2 big games against Halifax and Oldham?
Well, they worked a little bit hard for the early part of the first week, Tuesday and Thursday. We gave them a long weekend off, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I have to say I think it was needed. I think we've played a lot of emotional games at the start of the year. You know, the Challenge Cup, we were successful, and then we had a great run against Salford. We went to Toulouse on a tough trip, you know, which was elongated because of the travel arrangements. We were on the back of 3 losses, which is never nice for any team, so the emotional stress that comes with that, you have to cope with it. And I think the 2 performances against Featherstone and Sheffield were really good, but the time for a break is handy. Normally I'm reticent to give anybody a break or any time off, but I just think the time to reflect and the time to have a look at what we've done, and we've done some really good things. So I think it was much needed. I think the next 2 fixtures are great. I think we need to, play at the highest level. You're never guaranteed a result in any of these kind of things, but we need to play at that high level these next couple of games and see where we're at.
I met a couple of players during that week off, and I certainly got the feeling, Brian, from speaking to them, 2 of whom have played in all 10 games so far this season, that the weekend off, the bye weekend, was good for them, good for the team to kind of reset mentally for the challenges ahead. Have you picked that same sort of feeling, vibe up from the players?
Well, I'd be honest, I think the coaches felt the same way. It was a maelstrom of a start to the season, and what you have to cope with is the variance, if you like, in people's opinions as to what you are and what you're not. You're still trying to build a team at the start of the year, and the fact that we've played in quite a few profile games adds the emotional extras. Now it's good just to take a breath, take a beat, just calm down, let's have a look at where we're at, look at the pictures of what we're doing and what we're not doing, have a look at the squad, where's it at, who's doing well, who's not doing well. And that little few days was very important for us. But we have to hit the ground running because we're back into it now, back into the week in, week out stuff, which is what we're about this year, which is where we want to make an impact. But we've seen the results in the league, and that's how everybody else feels that way as well. So I think fans have come to terms with you've got to be on your game to get results in this division. And for whatever reason you're not on your game, then you've got to try and rectify those things. The reflection of let's just take a breath here, see where we're at, and let's say right what we're going for now.
Do you feel that sort of week off has come at a good time, a good place certainly for the side to kind of like think and reinforce what you've always said, Brian, that commitment to consistency and effort?
Yeah, I think one of the things that surprised me has been the difference in performances in different areas of the game. I don't mean we've had bad performances, I meant we've had some good week in certain areas, then you have to go back to that week. So, but that's the vagaries of part-timeism. You don't get the chance to fix everything all at once, where you have a chance in a full-time environment. I think we're getting close to understanding what all our personnel can do, and I think that was the helpful side of the break. I think the other helpful side of the break is you get to anticipate and ramp up a little bit more for Halifax and for Oldham and for, I think it's Sheffield the week after that. So players and fans alike project week by week. It's been everybody's excited about this game. The players are excited and everybody will be ready for this game. But it's a little bit like I tell some of us young aspiring coaches, and you're showing motivational films and things like that. Well, what do you think the opposition are watching? Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs? They're not. Everybody has a angle around how they think they can win the game, and that's what's good about what we do.
I know you've touched a little bit on Kieran Gill. After the Sheffield game, you said there was perhaps question marks to both Kieran Gill and Mitch Suter. Is it just Kieran Gill who has that concern?
Yes.
And I know you've said that is ahead of what is the injury, Brian, and you've said he could potentially be back in the mix for the trip to Oldham.
Yes, a minor knee injury that would have hurt at the time, but that should heal. He's healing well, and it looks really positive. I mean, non-rugby league and knees for a long time. There may be new news next week, but at this moment in time, I'm hopeful that they'll be ready for Oldham.
And obviously it is a blow for Kieran Gill for this weekend's game. Certainly 4 tries in his last 2. Very prolific try scorer since he joined Bradford from Newcastle. But I presume Brian, he'll be a bit gutted that he's missing this one.
Yeah, and he's a huge Bradford fan, and he's been a big part of what we've achieved over the last 3 years. I think he's got something like 20 odd tries, which is, whatever you say about a player, if they're rocking up and scoring 20 odd tries, they should be in the mix, and he's clearly in the mix. And he's dealt with a little bits of adversity along the way, even this year. Not being selected against Toulouse, was it? I can't remember which one it was. It's not great for a player, but the quality of the group at the moment is that they all understand they've got to work really, really hard to get in the team, and then staying in the team is important. I think we're trying to build it that way, that it's really important to be successsul right throughout the year.
In the past, you've mentioned players like Bailey Lou, Emmanuel Waney. They've got the most important job of all.
Yeah.
They've got to be patient. They've got to wait for the chance. Is this an opportunity potentially for those two to come in this week?
Well, I think Bailey Lou's closer. Yeah, I think definitely an opportunity for him. I'm excited by what he might do. It's been a long time coming for him, but we can only give opportunities. It's about, and they understand the dynamics of taking opportunities. So he's not on his own.
Eben Sker did the first half against Leeds. Some strong carries, good meters, everything okay with that. Brian, happy with that one for him to be back for such an important game.
I've got no question marks over Eben's ability to play.
On Aribi Doro, I know we've touched on that.
Yeah.
But is it fair to say, Brian, that's been on the cards for a while, or is this something that's just manifested itself out of the blue, an opportunity to strengthen for this 2-week period where effectively, if you look at the table, you are going away from home to the Championship top 2?
Yes. Has it been going on a long time? Our relationship with Aribi's been going on for a long time, but he's not our player, he's Hull KR's player. Now they'll want him to play at the highest possible level, and I'm pretty confident there were some Super League clubs that were nibbling away at him to go and play in their environments. The fact that he has chosen to come back to us to play is not only a fillip for us, but it's a big plus and a big boost in the arm. He's our player of the year last year on everybody's front, on the staff, the players, the fans. So he's well respected within this group, but I'm sure he understands that he's going to have to do the old run hard, tackle hard situation. He needs to play at a high level, and what a higher level could he be at for us to give him against 1 and 2 in the competition? And he wants to help in respect of that, and we're thankful that Hull KR have allowed him to go, because the reality is he's not too far off their team. I know they've been wanting to use him for a while, so for us to have him for the next couple of weeks is a huge bonus.
We've just seen him come down the corridor at Tongue, smile on his face, high-fiving Mitch Suter. You know, he played 24 games for Bradford last season. The fact that he likes it here, clearly loves the club, Brian. And as you said, you know, he could have gone to another Super League club on loan, but he's decided to come back to Bradford. You know, that's a real good fillip, isn't it, for the club? It's a good endorsement.
Yeah, I think endorsement's the right word. I'm really hopeful he gets a run out, an elongated run out for KR as well in the mix this year, because that's why he went there, that's why I wanted to go there, and I think he's more than capable of that. But they're the top of the league ladder in the Super League, and that's a big ask to push your way into that team as well. So with people that are performing well, which they are, so it's I'm thankful to Willie Peters and their CEO Mr. Lakin and the club for allowing him to come. But they also know that we'll send him back in tip-top condition after these 2 games.
Has there been any discussion outside of the 2 week, or is it just 2 weeks for now and then?
It's just 2 weeks for now.
It is a trip to the Shea, Good Friday. Big, passionate, intense rivalry. What are your expectations for this one, Brian?
A noisy stadium, because I think our fans clearly travel and will plump up their thing, so it'll be a lot of bump drum bashing on both sides of the fence, so we'll have to separate which drums is which. I just know what it's going to be like. It's going to be the team that's composed and understands what they've got to do and doesn't get emotionally involved that'll come out with the spoils. I've seen too many examples of people. You've got to do your job, as you know. We're keen for our players to do what we've been asking them to do for a long while, both with the ball and without the ball. And I think if we do that, we're a chance of winning. But I'm pretty confident that they'll be saying the same thing.
In seasons past, you've been in this hot seat before, Brian, focusing on Bradford against Leeds. This obviously is Halifax against Bradford, but how do you manage that sort of emotional side of a big derby? You know, to keep the players focused, especially when, you know, there's going to be a big crowd there at the Shea, and there's that heightened expectation from both sets of, you know, supporters for you know, what is a must-win game in the fans' eyes.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It might be in the fans' eyes, but I'm not sure it's going to be a definitive game. But clearly, both teams would love to win the game. That's what the business that we're in. I'm more interested in a really good performance. I think you take the emotion out of it if you focus on performance and what you've got to do. We've spoken to the players about that individually and collectively. I think there's a misnomer that you can pump the tyres up and you can beat the drum and then somebody sticks a pin in the balloon and you're not there. You've got to be ready to play, and rugby league's a hard game to play the best of times. With the added circumstances that you're talking about, it becomes a bit more flavourable and it becomes a bit more colourful and it becomes a bit noisier than it normally is. But the team that holds their nerve, in my opinion, and the team that plays the way they practice, and particularly with the way where they think they can get the opposition, generally comes out with the spoils. Now, there can be close games, so it might be the bounce of the ball, or one decision from a player, or a referee's decision, for example, that can change the course of a game, and we've just got to be ready for all instances.
These types of derby games often come down to fine margins, Brian.
Yeah.
What's the focus been like in training, you know, to ensure that Bradford are clinical, they're composed, you know, they're smart, and probably more important, they are disciplined in defence?
Well, I think you mentioned, it might be Nathan over there that mentioned the experience within the group. They know when they're playing a big game, when they're not playing a big game. That's the challenge. If you know that they know, and I can sniff it on them, they're ready for a big game, then you don't worry too much. If you're way off in the practices and you're way off in doing some of the things that you're wanting to do, but we're not that. We haven't been that for a while. I think every one of our players is looking forward to Friday, which is a great emotion to have. You know, playing in big games is what we're all about. Playing on if you're a rock star, you want to play on the biggest audience with the biggest stages. We get the opportunity at Halifax on Friday night in the away fixtures, you quite rightly point out, to go play well. And I think our fans will appreciate that if they know that we've played well and we've given the commitment that we always do to give 100% effort. As
a former player who's played in over 40 of these games in all competitions, Brian, have you felt the need, to play an even more important role this week in I know you've said the players, you're picking up that the players know this is a big one, but have you felt the need to get the message across, just exactly what this game will mean to those homegrown Halifax players in that Halifax team, and as we've said, touched a bit on it on the fans?
It means this fixture particularly, and this is not a criticism in any way, shape or form, because it's a big fixture for us this year, is important to Halifax, massively important because of the geography and the history of Super League. And so it generally tends to mean more to them. Not that it doesn't mean a lot to us, it does mean a lot to us. But what I do also know about rugby league is 10 minutes into the game, you ain't thinking about anything, but you've got to get your breath and you've got to do the things that coaches ask you to do and you get to the right parts of the field. And so I think that quickly loses momentum unless, of course, one team's on top of the other and then the crowd come into the bearing. So, yeah, I'm not too sure that's crucial, but what I am sure is that our players know we're in for a big game and that, that some good things happening in Halifax. I've watched them. They're big blokes, need handling, so they're going to have to be handled, and they're well organised. And so we're going to have to play really well.
And just finally, Brian, anyone who's watching this, listening to this, what message would you have to the Bradford fans who have travelled already this season in big numbers to Toulouse, to Featherstone, obviously 1,500 at Salford, and how they can support the team, with what they can bring.
Well, hopefully we can play some stuff that'll be good fun for them to watch. So that's the reason why they should go watch. I think we're an entertaining team when we're on. There's absolutely no doubt that their support gives the boys a lift at certain times. Clearly, you can see that. It's palpable. It's not only palpable. You can see it on the video when you hear the noise, and you can see that we're getting on top and we do good things and the noises that they make. So I hope that they go in numbers across that little hill there, that park, whatever it's called, Shibden Park, and they get down there to the Shea. But understand they're top of the table. We're quite a few places behind them at the moment. We're aspiring to be where they are. And to do that, we've got to go there and play well, and we'll be giving it our all.